Okay, so let's get started. So yesterday we understood that the databases are there to store the data, and as a data analyst, our job is to extract the data and create the reports, right? So to create the reports, what kind of tools can be used?
Excel.
Yeah, Excel. What else?
Power BI.
Yeah.
Tableau.
Yeah.
MySQL.
No, not MySQL. You may want to use Google Data Studio or ClickSense, SAP Crystal Reports, SSRS. So many different reporting tools are there. Okay, so the different databases that are available are
Can you repeat the question once?
the different databases that are available.
Oracle,
Yeah,
MySQL.
yeah,
Uh, this is what I know. Uh, Microsoft SQL.
yeah. MS Access. MS Access is also a database only. Right, great. So what is the common language used to interact with all these servers?
DVMS,
There is a language used, right, to interact with the server.
Query language.
query language.
Yeah, so that is structured query language, SQL, right? So this is what we understood yesterday. As a reporting analyst or a data analyst, our job is to create the reports and the data is there in the databases. So we need a language to interact with that. And we write the queries and those queries will go to the server and the server job is to understand the query, go to the database and get the required amount of data for our reporting tool, right? That's what we understood yesterday. Yeah. Before starting SQL sessions, let's try to understand the two types of real-time systems we have. You go anywhere, you see these things. Okay. Let's see what are they. We have OLTP and OLAP databases. Okay. OLTP and OLAP. Let's see what is OLTP and OLAP databases. Anyone worked earlier with any of these systems in this group, online participants?
No.
Okay. So let's try to understand what is OLTP and OLAP. Very much important. Let's say you go to a shopping mall and you pick up a few items and you go to the billing desk, right? And in the billing desk, at the billing desk, what happens is that they scan the code and they generate the bill. And once you make the payment, they generate the bill. What's happening there at the billing desk is one transaction. That's one transaction, right? The system which is behind, that billing desk is one OLTP system, online transaction processing system. Okay. The job of these OLTPs is to manage those transactions. Okay. So there may be, let's say Reliance Fresh kind of a thing, like so many branches are there. So many billing desks are there in each and every branch. So many people working on them. So many transactions may happen at the same time, right? But all these things to be stored in one database. Yes. So if you want to store all these things in one database, definitely you need a server that needs to handle all the traffic from the different billing systems that is coming in, right? So this system is a OLTP system. This environment, whatever I just spoke about, is OLTP. This is basically to manage all those transactions, the real-time transactions. Okay. So the basic about this OLTP is it's an online transactional system and manages database modifications, be it inserting the data, updating the data, or deleting the data. Something like you go to a billing system or a billing desk. Let's say you want to buy something. What kind of transaction is happening there? I mean, it's like an insert transaction. Nothing but if you buy something, there will be one record, an additional record in their table will be added saying, okay, so-and-so customer bought so-and-so, this is the quantity, this is the rate, this is the price, this is the discount. That entire thing will be recorded as one transaction as a record. In Excel, we call it a row, right? In SQL database side, we call it a record. in the record, it holds one transaction information. So whenever they want to track the transaction, there will be one ID generated for every bill, right? A bill ID or invoice number. We call it a primary key. We'll get into the keys discussion later, but there will be one unique identification number, like a transaction ID for that particular record, using which we can track it. Who bought it, when that person bought, what is that person bought. So the job and the focus of this OLTP systems, as we just discussed, insert, update, delete. And I just told you an example of an insert statement. Like if you buy something, it's like an insert statement for them because they need to add that record in the table. That so and so person bought this. Then what is update? While you are buying this, that person said, you informed him your customer ID. Your customer ID is 1234. That person asked, what's your customer ID? You said 1234. When that person entered 1234, your details populated and he asked your name. Is this your name? And you said yes. Is this your contact number? No, I've just updated my contact number. Please, can you change it? You ask that person. Can that person be able to change it? Yes, it depends on the access levels and all. Yeah, customer contact number may be updated by that executive, right? Let's assume that that person has the access to modify that number, and then that person asks you, what's your updated number? And you tell the updated number, and that person types it and updates it. Here, an update statement you are doing, nothing but you are not creating any new record for your customer profile. Within the existing record, one of those values to be modified. That is an update statement, right? The last one is a delete statement. Let's say when he pulled up your customer record, you found two addresses there. One address is your home address, that is your permanent address. The second address is your office address, and you moved out of that office and you joined somewhere else. And you said to that person saying, okay, I see two addresses here. I just need only my home address, which is my permanent address, and you can delete the office address because I'm no longer working there. Then that person, what that person needs to do? Delete that record, delete that address record. There will be one of those address associated still with your profile, but the second address, the office address, can be deleted. So the focus of this OLTP system is basically to insert a new record, update the existing record, or delete the existing record. OLTP systems. So why we maintain this as a separate system? You may get a question, right? Why we need one more system as OLAP, Online Analytical Processing System? There is one more system, right? As I just said, the primary focus of OLTP system is to insert, update, delete, right? This has to handle a lot of real-time transactions. Let's say if you take railways, how many tickets will be, how many tickets would be booked every day? Maybe a good lakhs of tickets, right? Across India, different locations. Anyone can log in and anyone can, book a ticket. Not only that, railways, bus booking, apps and all. How many transactions they need to handle? So they need one dedicated system just to manage the transactions, nothing else, right? I'll come to that, why OLAP is needed and why OLTP should be separated from OLAP, I'll explain, okay? But you understood, right? This is basically to manage the transactions, database modifications in terms of doing this insert, update, delete statements on the database. The data is the original source of data, whatever you find in OLTP system is your original source. You may be thinking like, do we have duplicate sources also? We don't call it as duplicate, but it is just a cloned version of it. It's something like transformed version of it, okay, of the data. I'll talk about that, what is a transformed version of the data here in OLAP. But this is, OLTP is your original source of data, something like, if you buy something at billing counter, the very first, time that particular transaction is getting recorded in that OLTP system, because you did the transaction, that is a very first entry into the system of that transaction. But this entry can be passed on to so many other systems also later. But that is the original source. That is where it happened first, right? Not only the billing counter, you can take an example of an ATM. Every ATM is there, right? Is to do the same kind of things. OLTP activities only. What is that you do? You insert, update, delete kind of things, right? So that is where the transaction took place at the very first time. Then after that, the same data can be cloned or transformed into different systems, depends on the requirement. But that is where the initial transaction took place, right? So if you go to an ATM, let me try to understand whether you understood this insert, update, delete statements correctly or not. Let's say you go to ATM, right? You withdraw 5,000. You have like 50,000 balance and you withdraw 5,000. What kind of transaction is it? Is it an insert statement or an update statement or a delete? So as soon as you withdraw 5,000, your balance will be changed to 45,000 out of 50,000 if you subtract 5,000, right? Okay. What is it?
Update.
Update.
Update. Okay. So why we think it is update?
We are withdrawing the money and transactions amount gets updated.
Oh, it's a current transactions. So as you said, the data is already
Data
stored.
gets updated basically.
The data is already stored, and
Mm.
we made a transaction. So after making a transaction, it gives the current status of the transaction holder. So
Mm.
maybe updating.
Mm. I mean, yeah, it sounds like update only, right? And that's why you all felt it is an update. Okay, let's do one thing. I'll give you a simple example, then you will understand why it can't be an update statement. Let's say today today you opened your account statement. You found 50,000, right? In the afternoon, you opened the, on the mobile app, right? You found 45,000. Okay. As you said, it is an update statement. That means your 50,000 will reflect as 45,000 there. But it doesn't leave any track of your withdrawal transaction. If it is an update, what it should do? 50,000 is there. It should be updated to 45,000. But, don't you want to know why that 50,000 has become 45,000 now? Would you like to know that why 50,000 has become 45,000 now? Yes or no?
Yes.
Definitely yes, right? So that means you don't want to see simply like the 50,000 turning into a 45,000. What is it you want to see? What happened to get this 45,000 as a balance now? So that means you expect one withdrawal account or a withdrawal record in your bank statement, yes or no? Whenever you withdraw amount, it creates a new record in your statement, yes or no? Online participants, is it yes or no?
But the okay, fine. Now, how it should be assumed? So, but you are speaking about the transaction from ATM,
Hmm.
and now the update what we are getting is from the bank.
ATMs, they work under bank, right?
Yeah, ATMs works under bank, but it doesn't give the what do you call entire account details. When the transaction is made, it just show the balance amount.
And we find out the last transactions amount in
Okay,
ATM.
fine. Okay, now I got it out. See, when we buy something from any market, so
Hmm.
they just scan the barcode.
Correct.
So initially, when they scan the barcode, so before selling these products, they store entire data of these barcodes initially.
Hmm. Yes,
So they store the barcodes.
correct. They will
Uh,
have a product catalog with all those barcodes, and that barcode tells which product is it, what is the price, and all other details are stored in the products table. And when they scan it, the scanner reads that code, and then it fetches the corresponding product details onto the screen.
yes. Okay. So this is what you meant. So this is what we can assume that the data is the OLTP and its transaction are the original source of data. So for this statement, we can assume that this product example.
Yeah, that original source of thing is, yeah, but my question is now about when you go to an ATM, when you withdraw the money, is it an insert statement or update statement? It must be an insert statement. Nothing but if you withdraw the money, that record needs to be there. That minus 5,000 to be there in the debit column. Of course, they show simply positive number only, but in the debit column, your balance is 50,000. In the debit column, 5,000 will be shown, and the final balance is 45,000. So it's an insert statement. Don't think withdrawing money is an update statement. It doesn't directly update your balance. What it does, it inserts a new record that you have withdrawn so and so amount. You got the point? So if it simply updates the balance, then today you see 50,000, tomorrow you see directly 45,000. You need to know what happened to that 5,000, right? What if you forget that you withdraw like 5,000 rupees? Then what if you forget that transaction? Then in the bank also, if it doesn't have any track of it, you're getting it? Withdrawing the money is an insert statement. It's not an update statement. That means one more record to be inserted into the table. Okay, so whatever we do interacting with these billing machines or ATMs or any mobile apps, all these things are OLTPs only. They manage our transactions, right? OLTPs, they have the short transactions. Okay, why they are simply short? Because they insert, update, delete. That's it. If you go to ATM or if you go to a billing counter, what is the turnaround time to complete the transaction? Let's say you go to ATM. How much time would you spend on an average? Let's say if you want to withdraw some money.
5
2 to
minutes.
3 minutes.
2 to 3 minutes on an
Yeah.
average, let's assume, right?
Yes.
2 to 3 minutes. That's it. So they are short transactions and their processing time is comparatively less, right? What if the ATM takes about half an hour to complete the transaction? No one would really like to go to an ATM. You get the point? And billing counters also, they work really fast, right? So they are short transactions because they just need to manage, insert, update, delete. That's it, right? I'll come to these 2 points. Okay, these are simpler queries. In OLTP, usually you see very, very simple queries. Why? Because their job is to insert a record, update a record, delete the record. That's it. Okay. That's the reason they are simple. Normalization and data integrity, I'll talk about this thing once we get into SQL concepts. But let's try to understand these systems, what we have. So the best examples of OLTPs are our billing systems are ATMs. Okay, any mobile app. The OLTPs are used by the data entry operators. Why? What is the job of the data entry operators? They insert the data, they update the data, they delete the data. That is the primary role of a data entry operator, right? So tell me, are we also data entry operators? Do we enter the data into the systems?
No.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, where, how, when?
Like accountings.
What else? Accounting, okay. Are we a data entry operator? If you ask me, we all are data entry operators. You did any UPI transaction yesterday? Yes, you did that? What you did? You entered data. As a data entry operator and end user, you scan the code. Don't think data entry means only those billing system people, the billing executives and all they do. No, we also do a lot of data entry every day. Let's say you book a ticket. What you did? You are the data entry operator there. You entered the data, right? We all are data entry operators, right? Of course, not in a company, but we do every day a lot of data entry in different systems, different applications. So whenever you make one UPI transaction, so that is our one of the data entry transaction there, right? Earlier, if you want to transfer money from one account to the other account, the process was too lengthy, right? You need to go visit a bank and tell the customer details like which bank it is, Earlier, it was when the banking systems were not centralized. Each bank was like an independent entity, and there was no such easy access from funds to be transferred from one account to the other bank's account. Okay, some other bank's account. But now they made it very easy, right? Earlier also, if a bank, what is that, a value to be, money to be transferred from one account to the other account, you need to go to the bank and place a request, and this amount to be transferred from your account to the other account, and you need to submit a form, and there used to be a process. Then the banking employees used to do the data entry for us. But now we are doing the data entry for ourselves, right? We are only just doing all that entries and all, and we are only transferring. That is one transaction. Whenever you do the money transfer or you pay someone, that is a one transaction that is getting recorded into the system. We all are data entry operators because with the availability of the internet, we are only doing a lot of transactions every day, right? How many of you visited a bank recently? How many years or how many months it's been that you visited a bank? Last month. Could be something that was out of the scope of your mobile app. If it is there already in the mobile app, then you would have chosen the mobile app, right? Instead of going to a bank.
I was again for check deposit.
Check deposit. And no other option, then definitely we'll have to, I mean, not necessarily you need to go to that bank only, any other, same branches should do. The check drop boxes are there in different places also.
A DD also I went for that.
Then a few things, yes, you need to visit because you have to handle those physical copies. But otherwise, rest everything is digital. So understand, we all are data entry operators and we deal with the systems. Those systems manage our transactions are called OLTP systems. Online transaction processing systems. Okay, coming to OLAP, online analytical processing. Okay, this is online data retrieving and data analysis system. So the job of the system is to retrieve the data. Okay, and then what
do you mean by retrieving?
Extracting. Get the data from there. Right, extract the data for analyzing, that helps in the decision making. Right, OLAP is for analytical processing, right? So we extract the data to analyze and so that we can make the better decisions. Okay. Different OLTP databases become the source of OLAP. Okay, I'll give you one simple example. Reliance Fresh only. You have different data centers available. Okay. Hyderabad, we have one data center. Chennai, we have data center. Kolkata, Delhi, different big places we have the data centers. CEO sits in Mumbai. Okay. Then that person wants to see a consolidated report from all these different data centers. Then what they need to do, there is a role called ETL developer. ETL developer, extract, transform, load. ETL, extract, transform, load. The developer's job is to interact with the different data centers where everyday transactions are stored in those data centers, right? Get all the data extracted, transformed into the required shape, and load that into a central repository like a data warehouse. Then the CEO, when that person wants to see across India what happened, that person doesn't need to interact with individual data centers. A central repository is already there and just connect to that and can easily find out what happened yesterday, what happened last week, what happened last month. So that means we want a central repository that holds all these data sets, all the databases data. So this is called a data warehouse. Okay, and who does that? Who brings all the data from multiple databases into one place? The ETL developers. Usually the ETL developers are part of data engineering team, right? Data engineering teams. You would have heard this name data engineers, right? ETL developers, they work there as part of data engineering team, and their job is to build the data pipelines. What is a data pipeline? What is a pipeline is basically if you talk about a water pipeline. So from one place to the other place, the water flows, right? Similarly, from one place, from one database, that flow, the data flows from one database to the other place. So they build the data pipelines from multiple databases and they get all the data consolidated into one central repository called data warehouse. Okay. So as a data analyst or a reporting analyst, we work with the data warehouses. We do not work with the direct live data, nothing but OLTP data. There is a reason why we don't directly work with the OLTP data, though that is the original source of data. Why we prefer working with OLAP data, nothing but our data warehouse data. The reason being, the OLTP systems are already busy in serving the customers. What is the primary role of OLTP? Insert, update, delete. Millions of transactions may be coming in, and the job of OLTP is to respond to all those requests and process them. When it comes to OLAP, as it is an analytical system, we may need to extract a lot of data for our analysis, right? With a simple example, you will understand why two types of systems are needed for us, right? You may get a question, as anyways, this is the original source of data, right? I can directly log on to that OLTP system where all the transactions are present. Can't I directly create the reports using the data that is the original source of data? Why do I need to transfer all the data into some other system and then connect to it and write create the reports and all? Why OLAP only? Simple example. I'll give you numbers, maybe on a rough paper, okay? You just need to make a note, right? Yes, ready? You have a rough paper? Maybe some rough paper somewhere.
Yes, sir.
Just make a note, okay? I'll give you the numbers. Online participants, you can also try this. Just take a rough paper. I'll give you a few numbers. Just make a note. That's it. Okay? 14, 18, 22, 26, 30. Right. Okay, hold on. What is it you are doing now? You are entering the data. Nothing but you are working like a OLTP, right? You're not doing anything else. You're just entering the data. The first number I said, right, 14, please make it as 12. Correct that. Change it as 12. Instead of 14, change it as 12. You know what you did? You updated the existing record, right? The second number I said 18, right? Delete it off, strike it off. We don't need that in the database. Strike it off. What kind of thing is it? It's a delete. So it is easy, right? Now here we go. I want
So we are doing OLTP.
OLTP you are doing currently, right? Whatever I said, asked you to write it, that is insert. Asked you to update that 14 to 12, that is an update. I asked you to cut off that 18, which is delete. This is done. This is OLTP. This is easy, right? They are our sale values, by the way. Whatever the numbers I said, currently you have 12, 22, right? And then 26, 30. These are the sale values, right? Write one more number, 34. This is an insert statement. Now you tell me, what is the total sale value? What is the total sale value is an analytical question. Nothing but business wants to understand what is my total sales. Can you tell me what is the total sale value now? 12, 22, 26, 30, 34. You need to sum up. And while you are doing that, while you are doing the sum, I'll give you one more requirement. Please write the transaction values again. Okay, one more transaction value, 38, 42, 46, 50. By the way, you got the sum? You got the sum? Any one of you got the sum? While that is happening, I'll give you one more round of numbers. Are you struggling a bit? Yeah, because I'm giving you the numbers one way. And I also asked you to get me the sum of that 12, 22, 26, 30. While you are trying to do that, I again gave you one more set of numbers to write it. So that means writing, doing the calculation. Earlier it was kind of okay when I was asking you to just write. But when I asked you an analytical question, you are struggling. Still you are trying to calculate. It's not that you can't calculate, but if you are while calculating, if I'm giving you one more number, then you will lose the calculation process, correct? Of course, machines, they work at differently, at a different speed, and the calculations can be done really fast. But look at this. If with simple numbers, if we are struggling to get me the sum of that 12, 22, 26, 30, just four numbers I asked. If I give you only four numbers and if I give you some time, like 5 seconds, if I give you, not only 5 seconds, it's like 2, 3 seconds, you can easily solve it also. But what made you felt this is a little challenging exercise? Because one way you are taking the inputs, the other way you are trying to do the calculation. That's when you're not being able to manage the situation. But the machines also, it's the same thing. So that is the reason we need two dedicated machines. One is interact with the customers and do all the real-time transactions, nothing else. The other thing is you take care of only the calculations and analytical part. Let's say two of you are here, right? You will be doing only the writing part. You will be doing the calculation part. You find it comfortable? Right, because your job is only look at the numbers and get the totals and all. Your job is whatever the numbers that are coming, you just need to do that. You get it? But if I give the same task to both of you, then you are not being able to handle this. So we need analytical systems to be separated from the transactional systems. Now you understand? Right. Now the original source of data, go on.
Yeah, like a small doubt. Like we usually have experience with IVR calls. Like even when we connect to any customer care, so it will be an IVR call. So as soon as we made a request, it directs us. So right now we can assume that we are data operators, and the IVR is a data warehouse. In this example, we are working with the data warehouse.
No, okay. So hold on. IVR system, why do we call it as a data warehouse?
No, it has data. Like when we are calling any customer care, it's ask our request. So we made our request. So as soon as we make our request, it directs its working process. So it consists the original data. So the data means the work what we are expecting from the call. Can we assume that it's a data warehouse?
No.
Because it's a fixed data, isn't it?
Okay, understand this. Because something stores the data, we cannot call it a data warehouse. Why? I'll tell you. The billing counter example that we discussed, right? They should have some data before processing the bill. Means you take a product, that product has a barcode. When I scan that barcode, it fetches the product related details. How it is able to fetch the data of all the product related details? Because there is already something being stored about this product in the tables. When I scan this, that's how it is coming. That data is also stored inside OLTP only. That's not coming from the data warehouse. Data warehouse is the next level. When that will come into picture? Once all these transactions that take place every day, midnight, they stop the transactions, right? They close the shops. In the midnight around 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, the data, the ETL developers, they trigger the jobs. There will be scheduled jobs. Whatever the transactions are recorded for that day, all those transactions will be moved into or copied into your data warehouse. That is data warehouse. Whatever the data it is fetching for the product details or customer details or location details and all that stuff is not going to come from the data warehouse. It is from the OLTP only. OLTP is also a database, right? There are so many things inside. The product details will be there, customer details will be there, all the transactions will be recorded. But understand one thing, we copy paste or we transform the transactions data into the data warehouse. Product details, customer details and all, they stay in OLTP only. You get the point? The same products and customers will be there in data warehouse also, but we don't copy every time, all these product details and all every day into the data warehouse, because data warehouse also will have the customers table and the products table. The transactions, every day, what kind of data we get? The transactional data. That transactional data we will be transforming and loading that into data warehouse. So coming back to that IBR options may be stored in a small table. Press 1 for this, press 2 for this. It's like a small table available in the OLTP only. But what is the transaction there? When you give a call to the customer care, right? After choosing all those menu options, there will be a call created on your name. One ID will be created. And what is your request? What is the resolution that agent has, has provided? Right? Is it okay or not okay? Or do we need to do any follow-up? They mention all those details there and they save the record. So that's the reason when you give a call to the next time, a call to the customer care next time, they can fetch what happened in your previous call. That previous call data is there, right? That is one transaction for us, and that transactional data again will be moved into a data warehouse, right? So you need to see this as two different systems. IBR options are part of OLTP only.
So these all data warehouse data can be stored in the servers.
Yes, some server should be there, right, to manage all these databases. Yes.
Okay.
It could be an on-premises server, or a cloud server. We'll also talk about that. Right. So where your original data is in OLTP, and all the data will get the data OLTP warehouse. But the process that helps us to get all the data from OLTP to OLAP is ETL process. ETL stands for extract the data from OLTP, transform the data into required shape, load the data into OLTP. Okay.
Sir, if you delete
So this is what, can we assume that all the ETLs are the data analysts?
What is the job of ETL?
So they extract, they save, and they update.
What is the primary role of data analyst?
They summarize.
They summarize the report.
Yes.
Right? Data analysts, they don't perform ETLs. They may need to perform if needed, but the primary role of data analyst is to get the data and create the reports so that business can draw the insights. Right? There is a different role called ETL developer. Data analysts, they don't do ETL activity. Sometimes if the data analyst only to do the ETL, then ETL tools are also there. So data analysts will have to learn them. But usually that is not the case. ETL developers, they work in a different shift altogether. I'll tell you why. When the ETL job will be there, usually when they should work.
Once the
I'll tell you.
transactions are completed.
When the transactions are in a normal business, like they work from morning 6 to night 10. Then the ETL
They
developer.
control the traffic. The ETL developers control the traffic.
No. They don't control the traffic. Okay. Simple. Reliance Fresh, they work from morning 6 to 10 o'clock, right? After 10 o'clock, they stop the transactions. So once the daily transactions are done, around midnight, 12 o'clock, the data pipeline should, the jobs should trigger. And all the data from the transactional systems that has to be loaded into your warehouse. So ETL job, when it starts, once the transactions are stopped, right? So then ETL developers can't control any transactions because they are starting their work once all the transactions are done. Why do they need to do that? While the transactions are happening, can't they do that? They can still do that. But ideally, if you want to move the data, the entire daily data into a different system, it is recommended once all the transactions are over, move all the data into different place. So their working hours usually be like little odd. Of course, they schedule the jobs and all, but sometimes the jobs may fail also, right? So their work starts after the data entry work is done. Yes or no? Can we take it, consider this way? Once the data entry work is over, then the ETL developer job will start, right? Then once they load all the data into a data warehouse, and once they give us the confirmation all the yesterday's data is available in the data warehouse, then the data analyst job will start. Looks like okay now. Data entry, ETL, and data analyst. Okay. The roles and responsibilities may be little overlapping here and there, but this is the flow. Okay. Is that fine now?
Yes. So even there will be difference in, so we can expect there are various kinds of data.
Means
Okay.
various
Yeah.
kinds of data means.
Like see, when every ETL worker doesn't work with just a raw data, isn't it? What I mean to say, the data which includes like about every customer billings and accounting. So even the data can be assumed something else apart from this accounting session.
Okay. Data is just not only for accounting, right?
Okay.
Say, if you roll out a survey, government is not doing a survey, right? Population, so many other things. There is no amount involved in that. There is no value, like a say sale value or something is not there in that, right? So each
No,
and
what I mean to say is, so the data can be a query language.
data can be a,
Query language.
what is a query language?
Oh, again, it's making complicated. So, as you said you before, the query language something else which is used to know about the data. So, can we assume that we can have a lot of query language data where it can be extracted to do further work on it?
Okay, so tell me, what is your understanding about query language? Yesterday we discussed. What is a
Yes.
structured query language, right? So what is your understanding about query language? From there, I'll try to answer.
Uh, so query language is knowing about certain tool or else to give more information about and to give more information about tools. So the language which is used to know about some tools. That is what I understood for your question.
Okay, others maybe. What anyone can answer this. What is your understanding about a query language as per yesterday's explanation? What we discussed, query language, a structured query language or SQL.
It's a language to retrieve the data from the database.
It's a language to retrieve the data from the database. There is a database. Okay, what is the primary role of a database we discussed?
Store the data.
Store the data. If you want to retrieve the data, you need a language, right? So data is different, language is different, right? Okay. Maybe the question goes to you. Can we consider data as a query language? Okay. So coming to this question, data is different, language is different. We use the language to extract the data, right? Let's say, I'll ask you this, whoever asked this, data is a query language. The question to you, what is 2 plus 2? Let's simple example. What is 2 plus 2? Please answer.
4.
4. Perfect. I asked a question. It is my query. And I used a language, which is English. Why I used English? Because you understand English, right? And what is the calculation that I gave? A 2 plus 2, right? And you responded back. So that means you have responded back with the answer, right? So I asked a question, you responded back with an answer. Similarly, using the query language, I ask a question, please get me the data. Get me the data from so-and-so transactions table from so-and-so date to so-and-so date. It's a query. And the job of this query is to go there, get the data as requested in that query, right? Data is different, query language is different. Is that clear?
Yes.
So what is the primary role of a database? Yeah,
Yeah, to store the data.
right. If I want to interact with the database, what is the language I need to use?
Query language. Yeah, but when you ask the question 2 plus 2 and the answer is 4,
Yeah.
but I know the equation of or else the calculation of addition, and you know the calculation of addition. But I'm working on the calculation of addition. So let me assume that addition is a tool. So I'm working on this tool.
Instead of
So
two, consider that as a function or a
function.
formula.
Yeah. So when I'm working on this function, so the constant or else the universal formula, the knowledge what it is giving is the query language. So this is what can I expect?
Yeah, query language knows all these functions.
Okay.
You trigger this, query language knows what is sum, what is subtraction, multiplication, all those things query language knows, and server also understands that language. Right? Whatever that addition you did, query language can also do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a database where we store the data, and there are two types of things we found so far: OLTP, OLAP. OLTP is to handle all the transactions, and OLAP is basically to gather all the data from different OLTPs into one place, like a data warehouse.
Now I got the question. So
Yes.
when the OLTP is storing the data, so the data which is stored in the OLAP, in which form the data is stored in the database? Is it stored in the query language? This is what my question. When the OLTP work is done, after the some OLTP data is stored in the data warehouse,
Yeah.
in which form the data is being stored? It is being stored in the binary version of binary version of this query language.
Okay, here we go. Which kind of databases we are working with? Yesterday we discussed RDBMS, relational databases. Why do we call it relational database? Because where the data is stored in the form of tables that have the relationships. You see this data either in OLTP or in OLAP. In both the places, the data exists in the form of tables only. Whatever the table structure that we have. It's not stored like a language, it is stored like a table. Okay, both the places, rows and columns, right? Be it OLTP or OLAP. The same table data will be transformed and loaded into our data warehouse as a table only. Either you can interact with OLTP with a query language SQL, or OLAP also with the same query language SQL. But as a data analyst, why we prefer connecting to OLAP? Because the job of OLAP to hold all the data from the different OLTPs. It's like a consolidated place or a repository, central repository. so that I can query anything that I want. And moreover, the job of OLAP to serve these analytical requests only, unlike the OLTP, because OLTP job is to handle all those transactions, right? Make sense now? In both the places, you see the tables only, not in the form of a language.
Okay.
Right. These things, they take more time. Let me tell you one thing, why they take more time. The entire example, if I turn this into a restaurant, okay? Restaurant is your entire database environment, consider that way. You go to a restaurant as a customer. Customer is nothing but a client, right? You want to place an order, right? In restaurant, you place an order, right? How do you place an order? You directly go to the kitchen and you place an order? No. Waiter. Waiter, can I call that person as server? Who serves the food? Server, right? Who serves the food? So as a client, nothing but a customer, you talk to the server, who is a waiter, and you ask, let's say I want to place, let's say some roti, right? And coming to the curry, you give your specifications. So curry should be with mild spice and a little less salt, and I want it to be a little thick, right? And all that conditions that you give. And server understands what is your requirement. And by the way, if you visit a Hyderabadi restaurant, okay, a restaurant in Hyderabad, which language you prefer to talk to that server? Telugu, Hindi, English, any language, right? So why are you using that language? Why not Malayalam?
People know.
Maybe that server may or may not understand Malayalam language. So that means you are trying to use a commonly understandable language. Here as a client, you are talking to the server using a commonly understood language, which is SQL. Here in the restaurant, you used Telugu, Hindi or English. There in the server and client, in SQL server and client, you need to use a common language, SQL. Then server understands your requirement. Okay, you want this, you want this, you want this. So where does the server go? Goes to the kitchen. Kitchen is your database, where all the ingredients are there. They are your tables, views, stored procedures, functions, and so many things. That is a place. So then the server tells the database saying like, okay, the so and so customer wants this with this specification, this specification, this specification, less salt, more, less spices, and do this, do this, do this. The more complex dish requirement you give, the chef will spend more time. Yes or no? Yes. Similarly, the more complex data requirement you give, the server needs to understand that and process it in the database and get that output to you. Usually, all of analytical requests are not as simple as, okay, get me this. It's not like every time, okay. If it is like a normal biryani, okay, you get that in minutes like this. Yes. But if you give a very specific dish requirement, then it will take some time. Yes or no? The more complex requirement you ask, more time it takes. Usually the analytical requests are complex only. Because you don't, if you want to see the sum of sales, it's like easy request. But you want to see the sum of sales excluding XYZ products, including an additional condition in it, and only from the West region with a city name starting with A. If you give all those conditions, then the server will have to take some time to process that request and get you that required amount of data. You're getting it? So
Yeah.
you consider this OLAPs, they take more time as our analytical requests are complex in nature. Now you understood?
Yes, and yeah, with your explanation, I'm just cross-checking with one statement.
Yeah.
Can I go with the statement?
Yes, please. Yeah.
All the non-SQL queries are handled by the classic query engine, but SQL query engine won't handle logical files. So what does it mean?
Come again once, please. SQL.
All the non-SQL queries are handled by the classic query engine, but SQL query engine won't handle logical files.
So you're talking about non-SQL here.
Yes. So what is the non-SQL queries?
There is something called NoSQL. Um, then we'll have to deviate from the current topic, but yeah, there is something called, there are few of the data sources, they work with NoSQL, NoSQL. You don't need to write a structured query language to do all these data retrieval activity and all, something like XML for that matter, okay? There are few other things also. They work with NoSQL. Though they handle data, they can store the data. You don't read SQL queries to handle this. Probably from that context it is coming, a non-SQL queries. But yeah, just type that one. I'll do some research on this classic SQL.
Okay, then what is the meaning of optimization engine?
Data optimization, normalization, there are a couple of topics I kept on them hold because when we get into the SQL concepts, I'll explain. But at this point, I'll just keep them on hold because we need to understand how the data looks and what is optimization engine and why we need to go for the data optimization, and also what is data normalization, why we need to go for the data normalization. These two
Can
things,
I get the abbreviation of RDBMS?
relational database management system.
Management. And what is the DBMS? DBMS.
Database management system.
Database management system. Okay, so what is the difference in between? So relational database management and database management. What is the difference between these two?
Okay. Fine, and then we need to talk about right from the file management systems, and then that will be completely deviated. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Because
I'll tell you one
notes.
thing. Earlier, the way we used to store the data is different. Currently, the way we are storing the data is different. In simple words, okay. RDBMS is basically to store the data in the form of tables, right? That is the easiest way to store the data and access the data. Earlier, we used to store the data in the form of files, but again, we need to go back to the file management systems and DBMS. They are like little outdated ones, okay? And the upcoming technologies, they're definitely going to be different, okay? So the way we are storing the data is yeah, that may be significantly changed in next few years, the way the data is significantly increasing in the world. So the database management systems and the history. But again, even if you learn that, there is no way that you can implement. That is what I'm thinking. So just better let us stick to this RDBMS only at this point, because all those applications we are going to work is RDBMS only. Coming to the database management system, yes, it is a software application, it manages the database. That's it. Simple one language. But RDBMS, it is a relational database management system. It manages the data which is in the form of tables. For now, you understand this. When we get into the SQL concepts, there are a few more things you need to understand for getting into all these discussion. Why data should be saved in the form of tables only. While saving the data, why the normalization is needed to avoid the redundancy and inconsistency. How we can optimize the data, right? So many things are there, right? So why I said I'll explain these things later is because slowly the complexity of the subject will increase. So if you can understand at this point what is OLTP, what is OLAP, should be fine. There are so many things and there may be a number of questions from you, I understand. But at this point, if you can understand what is OLTP, OLAP, what is data warehouse, what is original source, why in OLAP we write the complex queries, why we write the complex queries in OLAP? Because all our analytical requests are usually complex. Multiple conditions and so many things we write. As a result, they take more time to process. Okay. At this time, at this point, you just try to understand these two systems, right? Once we get into the practicals, I'll show you how the normalization is done, how the data can be optimized, right? And what are those data integrity constraints? That is also very important, okay? With the help of keys and constraints, we'll maintain the data integrity. Yeah, up to this, if you all are okay, then we can proceed to the next topics tomorrow. Any questions in these points?
No, currently.
So do we use OLTPs? Do we use OLTPs?
Yeah, we use OLTPs. In
Yeah,
our data.
all your
We
mobile
can-
apps you do
Yes,
a
sir.
lot of OLTP actions only. Perfect. Yep, your question, please.
If we delete the transaction in OLTP,
If we delete the transaction in OLTP,
then automatically it will be deleted in warehouse.
warehouse also are a good one. If we delete one original source of transaction, right, in OLTP, will that be deleted in OLAP or not? Good one, in the data warehouse or not? It depends on the flow you created. Usually, if you're deleting a transaction in the OLTP, it will be moved into a different table. That won't be directly deleted. It will still leave the track of it. Someone so-and-so user deleted from this table, this particular record, and that will be stored in a deleted transactions table. Okay. So that won't be simply directly vanished from the system. That will be there, still there. Depends on the process, how important it is. Let's say, I told you, right, two addresses are there, right? Let's say in Reliance Fresh, two addresses are there you found, and you said office address, please delete and keep only the home address. They may not need to maintain the track of that office address thing. They can simply delete it and the record will be simply vanished from the system. That is good, right? So will this be reflected in your data warehouse or not? It depends on the flow, the pipeline that you created. What they usually do is that if a delete transaction take place, right, they check when that record got deleted, that using the timestamp on that particular record, if they create a flow in the data warehouse also the same record to be deleted, that will be deleted. If they say that no, don't touch that, that will stay there, right? One more example I can give you. If it is a banking system, right? Banking system, even though you update your address and all, you delete any historical address, that won't be deleted. That will still be there. You check your, civil reports and all, it shows all the possible things of one individual, everything will be there, right? So they don't delete the data like that, right? Depends on the process. If they want that deleted transaction to be deleted in the warehouse also, they need to write a flow. Okay, deleted transactions also should be deleted in the warehouse. If they don't need it, that's okay. Usually it's not that case. They keep the deleted transactions also in a separate table as deleted data, right? But it all depends on how they created the flow. The ETL team I told you, right? They take care of this. But usually if it is deleted in the OLTP, it is recommended to delete in warehouse also. Because you don't need that record. Otherwise, what happens when you create a report, just in case you create a report in OLTP, it shows one number, and you create a report in a data warehouse, it shows some other number. The data may not match.
And like you said before, the data is deleted, even it will be deleted from the warehouse.
It depends on the flow. If you write the flow like that, if the data is not present in OLTP, that particular record to be deleted in warehouse should be deleted.
Okay, for example, like for any file in our computer, like we are deleting a file and it will be stored in recycle bin. So, but when we shift and delete it, so when we permanently delete it, so does it store in the data, or else we can extract that data, or else it is lost?
Good one. There is something called the transaction management, TCL, transaction control language. There is something called commit and rollback. Okay. when you delete something, if you want to roll back the transaction, you can get it back,
Yeah, by restarting it.
which is delete. But what is this
Ah.
shift delete? There is something called truncate command. If you do a truncate command, there is no rollback to it. You can't get it back. Permanently vanished from the system.
File control shift strategy, like.
So shift delete, when you perform, usually you don't find that file in our the recycle bin, right? Similarly, if you trigger a truncate command on the data, that record or the records will be completely vanished. You can't even roll them back.
But we can have the table, isn't
Hmm.
it? We can have the OLTP of this files, deleted files.
This is what I'm trying to tell you. It depends on the flow. If you don't need those transactions anymore, you can completely delete them. But whenever the user attempts a delete, but the business needs the data, the deleted data also, instead of deleting the data, what it does, it moves the data into a separate table so that you can't find it in the current table, but the deleted data will be present in some other table for the tracking purpose.
Yeah, but when we observe the activities on our laptops, like we have deleted, we have permanently deleted.
Hmm.
So we get the recent activities of deletion.
You need to build one application for that, and it shows you, it can show the metrics like what is deleted, what is appended, right, what is inserted. All those things can be tracked in the, I mean, in the logs also, SQL logs also. You'll find who logged in, what kind of activities that person did. So that is the reason, right, in the ERPs you can see each and every activity that is done by a user, and you can see everything what has been
And then,
modified.
then by using with the help of SQL query language, can't we extract that data of deleted data?
Can't we extract? We can, I said, right, we can do a rollback if you want to get it back.
Yes, like you said, we need to create an application for this
See, if you
record.
want to see these things, let's say you want to see what all activities are done on the database for that day, you need an application to show all those metrics I'm saying.
Yes, for example, okay, the iOS, when we are maintaining any pictures in our phone and we are deleting it, so can we extract it from the cloud?
See, I'll tell you one thing. Coming to iOS, every application, every business application has some flow, right? In the banking, can you delete any of your banking record history?
From our end, we can't do it.
Banks, and can they do it? Tell me.
They can.
No. If they are doing it, it is tampering of the data.
Yeah, but somebody works for on the data, isn't it?
No, they can't do it. A transaction, a financial transaction that takes place, right? If someone has access to delete it, let's assume, that is as good as tampering the data. It leads to
No, I'm not
legal
speaking about
consequences.
deletion. Not
Hmm.
speaking about deletion. But when we are speaking, when we shifted the topic to the banking sector, and it is complicated. But
Hmm.
I'm taking about just to iOS. When the pictures what we take from our phone and it's been deleted. So obviously we maintain a cloud account in iOS.
Correct.
So if we forget to back up these files,
Hmm.
so I have gone through few videos where we can extract the file from the iCloud without backup. So with that knowledge, I'm asking you, if at all deleted files have been deleted from our iOS, which are in the cloud, can we extract those data? This is what my question.
So are they available on the cloud?
That's what, if even though when we have not done the backup into the cloud,
Oh, without the backup, they get into the cloud. Think.
that I don't know.
I mean, you should set up, whether you are.
Even they ask for payments now, even when we are maintaining a cloud account, they just ask to renew each and every month.
Okay,
For,
yeah. That
cloud
means
main-
if you keep that as in the auto syncing process, the moment you click a picture here, that will be synced into your cloud also. The same picture will be available there. If you take the backup there, then if it is there in the cloud, then you can retrieve it from the cloud. Even though you delete from your local, phone.
Yeah,
See,
no, okay. I'm just working with the subject. That's it. I'm not making things complicated, but the things what I have learned from the class, I'm just implementing into my doubts. That's all.
right, I get your point. So, see, what I'm trying to tell you is different applications, they are built serving different purposes. Photos and all different from the banking application. Why I took the bank example is the photos, the way we handle here in the phone, and the banking transaction, the way we handle are different. So we cannot compare these two things, right? Different applications, they are meant to do different things. iOS photos are for something, else, and banking transactions are something else, right? Both of them they are holding some data. Here, there are photos they are holding. Here, the transactions are being, there in the tables. Two applications for two different purposes. Something can be deleted. Yes, in one application, it may be possible. In other application, can't be possible. You can't do that. Depends on the application logics. That's what I was trying to explain.
Okay.
Yeah. So in the next session, we'll talk about SQL concepts. There I'll explain what is SQL, what is a database, right? And whatever the things OLTP, OLAP we discussed,
And
we'll see
installation
them
of
in the
SQL,
right. Go on.
even you said installation of SQL,
Correct, yes.
SQL server.
Yes, we'll do it. We'll do in the SQL concepts only. That is here.
Yeah, like yesterday you were saying that we will cover this installation of SQL server.
Yeah, we are running little low, with a little low pace.
Yeah, but I
We are
got the
here.
knowledge. That's good today.
Yeah. So in the next session, we'll do it. It's like we are very much there. Okay. Just like we need to understand what is SQL and all database, and once again the database environment, and then we'll move on to installation of SQL. Right. We are left with two more points here. I'll explain that in the SQL concepts only. Yep. Normalization and the data integrity. Okay, perfect then. So let's catch up in the next session then.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.